Uchenna gazed over the tropical island. Palm trees studded green hillsides. Rivers meandered through valleys. It was the most beautiful island she had ever seen. Unfortunately, it was only 13 inches long and 9 inches wide, because it had to fit in a baking pan. And it was made out of clay, dirt, twigs, and other materials she and Elliot had found around the playground. But it was way nicer than the landscapes of all the other kids in Ms. Vole's class. Pai Lu, with her black eyeliner and black nail polish and black pants and black shirt and black rings and black combat boots, had made a blighted waste, as she called it. "Nothing can grow in this cursed land," she'd announced, "except for shadows and despair." Uchenna didn't really get Pai Lu. Shruti and Janie had made an Arctic tundra, which just meant that they had filled their baking pan with ripped-up tissues. Uchenna found this ironic because Janie constantly had a finger up her nose, and Uchenna had never seen her use a tissue. And then there was Jimmy. Jimmy and Jasper and Jonna had made a big brown lump. Uchenna figured it was supposed to be a mountain, or a hill, or maybe a dung heap, which means a pile of poop. Jimmy was very into dung heaps. For some reason, Jimmy was currently sticking pieces of brown clay up one of his nostrils. Definitely a dung heap, Uchenna thought. Just then, Elliot returned to the table with a watering can, grinning. "Ready to see how fresh water systems function on tropical islands?" he asked. "I'm kind of more excited to see how Jimmy is going to get that clay out of his nose," Uchenna replied. "Don't be silly. With these wells, lakes, and underground cave and tunnel systems we've created, we should be able to replicate the true behavior of a water table on a Caribbean island." Elliot began to sprinkle water over one half of the landscape. Soon, the lakes they'd made began to fill up. He kept pouring the water. Amazingly, the lakes didn't overflow. Instead, water began to appear in tiny wells they'd dug on the other side of the island. "Cool!" Uchenna exclaimed. "Right? The water is running through our hidden subterranean—" "No," Uchenna interrupted. "Jimmy's trying to shoot the clay out of his nostril by pouring water in the other nostril. I guess their project is a geyser?" Jonna and Jasper were clapping in rhythm, urging Jimmy on, as he leaned his head back and tried to angle the spout of a water pitcher up his nose. Ms. Vole finally noticed what was happening and hustled over to prevent Jimmy's nasal geyser from erupting all over everything. Just then, the door of the classroom burst open, revealing a tall man with a bushy beard, an enormous shock of black and white hair, and a disheveled tweed suit. His shoulders were rising and falling like he'd been running. "Excuse me, Miss Vole," announced Professor Fauna, in a voice as rich and rocky as the mountains of his native Peru. "I need to borrow—" Professor Fauna stopped speaking. Ms. Vole had Jimmy bent backwards over her knee, and she was reaching up his nose with her forefinger and thumb. Miss Vole? What are you doing?" Ms. Vole looked up like she'd been caught. "Well, it's a science experiment." "I see.